It's really starting to feel like a game now. Before, I thought there wouldn't be anything major to show for this update, but actually there were a lot of odds and ends, and even a major rework of the quest and dialogue system. Let's get right to it. Launching the game, you can see there's now a splash screen with an Orca Teddy logo. I don't think I ever introduced the name of the game studio of one, but yeah, it's called Orca Teddy. And a couple weeks ago while I was planning work, I ended up doodling a little bit and made a new logo. Before, the logo was a Teddy customer and then just text that said Orca Teddy. So it was simple, it was workable, but it wasn't anything amazing. So I've made a new logo this time. I animated this logo as well. We can take a look at it right now. Yeah. It's pretty cute. I'll eventually use it in the launch screen for this game. I haven't made the launch screen yet, so that's for the future. Let's go to town now. Not only do we have a new quest indicator for NPCs now, but we now also have an indication that you're actually hovering over the NPC. I thought this was necessary to add this update, especially because it improves usability on desktop. So you can see that the dialogue has been completely reworked. Before, it was a speech bubble and you could run around while talking to the NPC, but I realized it's not that immersive. Like, really, multitasking during conversation doesn't really make sense. Besides that, you couldn't store much information in a bubble. Like, what if you have multiple quests going on with one NPC, or that NPC has further capabilities than just talking to them? Although I didn't think about it while designing the system, having a dialogue box makes it easier to do special events and have user interface reskinned to match that event. I think it adds a lot more room for creativity. So firstly, just to show it works, we can exit dialogue like this. Let's take our first quest. I animated the text and added some little typewriter sounds, and you can even speed it up by continuously clicking on it. For people who are impatient like me sometimes, I really like how it speeds it up without completely skipping it. Like, you can still see it while you spam tap on the screen. So we'll accept this quest, and now we have it in our quest tracker here. But let's say we don't really understand how to do this quest. We can click on the NPC, and it can give you some help. So it says the slimes are outside the town, and this is a good opportunity to take a look at the new combat system. It was really buggy before, but now I've made some improvements, such as showing the hurt indicators by making it flash red. And I've also changed the punch attacks to now be like area of effect, but that's a regression. I'm gonna have to build a whole system for attacks and actions, but I decided to just leave it like this, and then in a few weeks we'll have this system. I realized that the combat I implemented was not scalable. It still isn't. I'm not too concerned about this temporary bugginess because I did fix several bugs during this update. I also spent tons of time working on the player movement. You could climb up ropes before, but you couldn't really jump between platforms, and you can see on this map we have a little platform jump the player has to do. You can see there's a little teleport going on here from one platform to the next. And there's even like some edge cases. You just want to jump a little bit. It looks simple, but this was 3.5 hours of my life. Let's wrap up this quest so we can see a little bit more of the new quest system. Cool, we're done with that quest. Let's go to town. So you can see there's little sounds that it makes as you get a new quest reward. I added some integrations to allow the NPC to unlock things for you and require you through quests to unlock things before you can progress. So this will help a lot with our quest line of unlocking the town. As you just heard, I went through the interfaces and added a lot of different sounds to the game. Even though I often play games with the sound off on my phone, I plan on making the game available on desktop as well. So I want to provide good audio feedback to the interactions in the game. Adding sounds also just helps the game have a lot more character and feel more alive. So let's continue the quest line a little bit. And now we have an integration where the teddy bear is giving us our first pickaxe. You can see that I haven't written the dialogue for all of the parts yet. I'll do that later on. So yeah, I'll just stop the playthrough at this point. There's a lot more that I need to work on for the quest system, but as I was working on it, I just added more and more things to make it a richer experience, which is great. But I do think that spending several hours just endlessly working on one system is pretty demotivating. So I made some future tickets and I just left it kind of as is for now. Other than that, I did go back to my first game and made a much better icon. It's pretty boring before and more reminiscent of an icon that a productivity software or something would have rather than a game. I feel much happier with how this looks on my phone screen now. I kept the martini and added a bar background as well as the bear customer and the waiter. I decided to do this because I'm finally going to release the game to Android, and the Google Play approval process makes it so that you need to have a server-side rendered privacy policy page, and I just didn't have that for the web app that I made, and I didn't want to spend a lot of time implementing it and making it more legit because I'm mainly going to have a list of games I've released and download links on that site. It's so tempting to build a full-fledged web app after spending several years in the industry. It almost feels like I'm committing sacrilege or something not to do so, but I abandoned that pride this week and got more realistic by just making a static site. So here we go. We literally have an index.html. We're going back to old school. As long as it fulfills the purpose, it's fine, right? I also want to make a trailer video for this game, and I generally want to improve my video editing skills, so you'll probably see that in 2 updates from now. And we're coming to an end for this video. I felt really fortunate these past couple of weeks to work on things to the point where I feel like, oh, this is actually beautiful. I used to feel really frustrated in my previous jobs when I couldn't work on things that I felt had significance or to a higher level of craftsmanship, for whatever reason that may have been. So it's a great and restorative feeling to work on things to the point where I feel like I'm actually happy with what's being produced. The future is always uncertain, but I'm grateful for what I can do now. That's all for today. If you're enjoying these updates, feel free to subscribe to follow along with the journey. I'm now regularly posting every 2 weeks. In the next update, I'm hopefully going to be showcasing a lot of the things that I've been wanting to do if I had more energy and time, such as making the level up animations with some sounds. I'll be implementing a cooldown system for food consumption, making it possible to equip items and add some stat tooltips for better usability. And most importantly, and perhaps excitingly, I'm going to be drawing the official maps for the town, the mines, and also the first 2 combat maps. So I'm super excited about that because it means we're going to get further into expanding the gameplay content of this world. Thanks for taking the time to watch, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.